One of the first painful experience I had in Nigeria, apart from attending countless funerals and lying in state from members of the campus, was seeing children dying. In one time I was in the medical center. There was no hospital on campus, but we had a big medical center. But in that medical center there was virtually nothing. So if you come, they just look at the person, the patient, make a long list, including syringes, cotton wool, basics, and send you away to find wherever you can find what you need. Usually we had to go to patent medicine stores on the outskirts of campus, because at first there was no pharmacy. And in town there was nothing except the market. So you just leave your patient and then start going about. One time one of my children was sick. I brought her, and they gave me a list like that, and it was raining cats and dogs. It was in the heart of the rainy season. I had no transport for one reason or the other, and I had to walk to the newly then established pharmacy. I bought what I needed, and then I had to go up back into the medical center. And there was a huge gully, and it was as big as me. And when I tried to cross it, because there was no other way, the water reached the top of my chest, and I was shaken up and down by the swollen river that was falling through, and I nearly lost balance. I was just praying, and thankfully I arrived in time and my child got better. But it was not always the case. There was another time I was there with another child, or the same, I don't remember, and then the nurses one nurse was with me, and another one came in to the little room and said, we need a drip for the child in the adjacent place. And the other one told her, she didn't even realize that I was there, that I was listening. She told her to forget about it, there is no point, the mother buying that. That child is already packing away. And I was transfixed, thinking that they were there just debating the price of a drip, knowing that I'd already decided anyway that the child was dying. There was no point wasting a drip. Another time I was in the teaching hospital 70 miles away, the huge UNTH in Enugu, with my first child that was there for a battery of tests to find out what was wrong with him. But what was the problem was not something that involved fever or anything. So, I was just there for 3 weeks, and I had to occupy myself and the child. And then a child arrived to the pediatric service, and they didn't even have time to register him, to take a file and fill the file for him, and he died. And I remember the mother wailing in a terrible voice. It was so heart-wrenching. I couldn't stand it. I was already stressed because of my own child. I just grabbed my child, put him on my back, and ran away to another part of the hospital, because I was free. I was not attached to a bed with him. It was so unbearable. And the people were saying that she had probably come after exhausting all the possibles and possibles in the village, because going to a teaching hospital was very, very costly for those that were not staff from the university. So that's how the child ended. Another time, a lady, I was there to deliver my last born, and in the maternity, and a very heavily pregnant lady arrived at the gate, begging them to take her because she had complications in her pregnancy and she was about to deliver. But there was a problem. And the people were busy debating that she had no money and she died there at the gate. And I remember the revulsion of the people. How come this kind of thing can happen in a civilized place? The regional capital, the best hospital. It was sad. And there were many kids that were dying like that. And when a child dies, usually he will not be buried in the village like, the adults. So there was a cemetery at the back of the university somewhere on campus that was a children's cemetery where I heard that they were burying their children. One of our friends' child died sometime in the late 70s. But our own child was diagnosed with an irreparable, disease. And thinking of accompanying, bereaved parents was beyond my possibility. Just thinking of it, I had no strength, so I didn't go. It was too much for me, too much. It was so difficult. And the day our son died, neighbors came, women came to condole with us. I was alone because my husband had gone to the village to arrange for the burial. And they sat with me, and I remember one that was a neighbor. I hardly knew her. She was further along the road, saying that she had lost 2 children. That was the way it was. And people took it, well, it's one of those things. I remember in late 72 or early 73, I was still living alone before our wedding. I was in my flat on Elias Avenue, and I heard a bit of commotion in the next door, on the same landing. And I went and I asked what was happening, and they said that one of the children had died. And the people said just casually to me, oh, it was an obanje. And at that time I didn't know, what was an obanje. I didn't say anything. I just said, okay, sorry. And I went briefly to condole and then left. And later on I heard that the child was admitted in the medical center, possibly with malaria. And then at a point she said, I want to go home. And the people were saying that was the sign that she was an obanje. And that was it. I remember the mother saying she had such a beautiful golden hair. These things were heart-wrenching. And they piled up so much, one after the other. It was just part of life, but at the same time it was trauma upon trauma for me because I didn't grow in that society. And so now, when I hear about people promoting abortion, it makes me vomit. Because I know how people cried for their children in Nigeria. It was so sad. So sad.